Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the regular Temple City City Council meeting of November 6, 2018 to order. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez?
Here.
Councilmember Sternquist? Here. Councilmember Yu is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Fish?
Here.
Mayor Mann?
Here.
Motion to excuse Councilmember Yu for cause.
Second.
All right. Motion to excuse Councilmember Yu has been carried. Moving on, we have the invocation, and tonight we have the pleasure of having Reverend El Bayadi from the Temple Sheriff Station Chapel, located right here in Temple City on 8838 East Las Tunas Drive. Reverend El Bayadi, would you please provide the invocation for us? Please all rise for the invocation, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards.
Lord Jesus, we thank you for our city, great city, Temple City, because they put you in the beginning of their meetings. Thank you, Lord. You honor that, and we honor that. For your precious mighty name, we pray for the city to be for you, Lord, according to your will. Lord, I am asking you to bless the mayor and to bless all the cabinet in the city hall, and we pray, Lord, for the sheriff. We pray, Lord, also for every single law enforcement working in the city here, as well as all the employees, as well, Lord, as all the departments here. Lord, all of us, we are under your majesty. Thank you because you are the one who created us according to your image to have fellowship with us. We give you our hearts to live in our hearts, and we honor you and we lift you up in our city. Bless, Lord Jesus, all the decisions. We take it here. It's supposed to be by you. Approve it, Lord, for your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend El Bayadi. Tonight we have Boy Scout Troop 169 who will be leading the Pledge of Allegiance. Troop 169 meets every Monday at 7 p.m. at the Elk Lodge on 1373 East Las Tunas Drive in San Diego. And all are welcome. Troop 169.
Attention, will the audience please join me for the presentation of the colors? All those with their uniform, please salute. All those without, place your right hand over your heart. Color guards, attention. Color guards, advance. Color guards, halt. Color guards, proceed. Color guards, halt. Prepare to post colors. Oh. Color guards, present colors. Color guards, prepare to post colors. Will the audience please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guards return to rank. Or post colors. 2. Color guards return to rank. Salute. Color guards dismissed.
Thank you, Troop 169. Moving on to ceremonial matters. Tonight we have a very special presentation. Tonight we will be honoring Deputy Rick Adams, who has been a member of the Temple City Sheriff's dedicated deputy team and someone who has served our community for the past 17 years. And before we invite Captain Flores up to say a couple words, I actually want to give maybe council an opportunity to maybe make any comments if you have any right now. I'll start off by thanking Rick for your many years of service. I first got to know Rick through the area leaders for our neighborhood watch, and he has been an incredible force in helping lead that group. The monthly meetings, your leadership, your dedication to the cause, and being able to listen to and process all the information that our residents are throwing at you. It's incredible. And if you go to enough of our neighborhood watch meetings, you'll know he's the man who doesn't need a microphone. Like, we could be at any venue, big or small, and you will hear Rick loud and clear. He's got all the stuff down, memorized. He knows his material. He knows our neighborhoods. He knows every street like the back of his hand. He's one of the most reliable friends and community members that I know of. And it's been an incredible pleasure working with you over these years. And you have taught me a lot about how public safety and how the sheriff's station works, and how our group of dedicated deputies has contributed to the safety of Temple City. So thank you so much for your many years of service. And I don't know if council would like to make comments now or later, but would you?
Sure. Whatever you want to do.
Maybe Councilmember Chavez?
No, I don't want to make any comments. Yeah, we all know Rick, of course, as a fantastic deputy and all the service that he has given to the city. But for me, I consider Rick a friend, a personal friend. I've known him for a long time. I've seen his family grow and his children, and not only is he a great deputy, but he's a great father as well, and just a great friend to everybody. And we'll miss that. But I got a feeling it's not goodbye, but we'll see you again. And I think this is a good chapter in your life, something that I know you've looked forward to. And we wish you the best, of course. And I know you won't forget us. This is your home, always will be. And so, thank you so much for all you've done for our community. It's we can't thank you enough for all that you've done. So, good luck, and we'll see you around. Okay.
Councilmember Sturquist?
Ditto everything Tom said, Rick, about your service to this community. On a personal level, we've known each other for a long time and shared our war stories with challenging sons and lovely stories about wonderful daughters. But and their challenges at girls' high schools. But anyway, I've always felt that you were someone that I could talk to and just share challenges of life with, and I consider you a dear friend and wish you only the best. I'm so proud of you. It's been a long time coming, so congratulations, and I know you'll do well. You'll be missed with our team, though, I know. So thank you, Rick.
I'm losing my voice a little, so bear with me. I met Rick back when he was the honorary Grand Marshal at the Community Festival. That's when I began to deal with him. And I met his children, and I, too, feel like I'm losing a friend. You know this community so well. Not only have you worked here, but you've supported it in many ways. I've seen you at many fundraisers, yard sales, you name it, and there comes Rick Adams, whether you're in uniform or not. So I know that you love this community. I agree with Councilmember Chavez. You're not going to go far. We're going to keep an eye on you so that hopefully someday you will come back to our station. I know this community appreciates your passion and your understanding and your professionalism. I know I do, and I know the council does. So I wish you luck. Please come by and visit us. Keep us posted. And good luck. Thank you.
So I'd like to invite Captain Dave Flores to perhaps come to the podium and maybe share a couple of words about Deputy Adams. And afterwards, we'd like to present Deputy Rick Adams with a certificate, and we also have a plaque for him.
Great. Mayor, Council, thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I am David Flores, the captain of Temple Station. It's my honor tonight to recognize Deputy Rick Adams for his work and dedication to the city of Temple City. Rick did very well recently on the department sergeant's exam, and I look forward to seeing him promote to sergeant in the near future. In the meantime, he's been promoted from the designated deputy to field training officer, where he is sharing his experience with newly assigned deputies to the station, and I appreciate that, Rick. Rick is a 30-year veteran of the Sheriff's Department. He worked a variety of assignments before he came to Temple Station in 1996. And at that time, I had the privilege of working with Rick as a deputy. There's so much to tell about Rick's work at the station, both rewarding and some traumatic. For example, in October of 2000, Rick was working patrol when he responded to an illegal shooting call in our station's area. And when he arrived to investigate the call, 3 gunshots were heard. And the first gunshot struck Rick on the left side of his chest, just missing his ballistic vest by inches. Rick took cover behind his vehicle. He was able to broadcast over his radio that he'd been shot, and he was able to provide substantial information about the shooting while under duress, and arriving deputies conducted an extensive search and located that suspect. But although wounded, Rick displayed a tremendous amount of courage and tenacity, and for his perseverance and continuing to perform his duties after sustaining such a traumatic injury, he was awarded the department's Purple Heart Medal. Overall, frankly, we're just grateful he was in good hands, and thank God he made a full recovery. Rick came back to Temple Station as determined as ever and became part of the Temple City team in 2001, and he's been an institution in the city ever since. Some of the things worth mentioning are that he helped implement the Every 15 Minutes program at Temple City High School in 2005. He received the Golden Apple Award from school administrators in 2008. In 2010, he was named Temple City's Deputy of the Year. In 2011, he was instrumental in implementing the highly successful Area Watch and Area Leader programs. In 2012, he was the Honorary Grand Marshal at the Camellia Parade. He also helped put into effect the Juvenile Citation Program, where school administrators could issue juvenile citations for misdemeanor offenses. And he also brought alcohol and drug awareness to Oak Avenue School and really to many of the youth in our city. And there's more, even off duty. Rick helped capture 3 burglary suspects in December of 2013. Then again, just a few months ago, while off duty, he observed 3 other burglary suspects and led Arcadia PD to them, and they were arrested. So his observation skills are as sharp as ever. Rick, I'm really proud of you and all you have done and how you've so diligently dedicated yourself to the city. I consider you family, and I really appreciate our friendship over the years. So congratulations to you. Thank you.
So at this point, I'd like to invite the entire City Council and as well as Deputy Rick Adams up to present this certificate and plaque.
You want to say something? Okay. I'm sure Rick wants to say something. I can't ever imagine Rick not saying something. I talk with you all.
We'll grab a photo.
Stand it. Okay.
Can we get the other deputies that are here tonight? Sure. Ron, dude, Vance.
Sergeant Miranda, you got a smile? Good, thank you. Thank you.
Couple words, okay. All right, you got it. Keep it under 10, 20 minutes.
I'll be brief, which is something I'm not usually. It's truly been an honor and a privilege knowing all of you, the community. I know there are a number of area leaders and residents that I've helped and worked with throughout the years. Truly, I've been blessed to have the last 17 years in this community, to be a part of this community. So I thank you, everybody. Council, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the future, so I'll be around.
Yes.
Okay?
Sure.
God bless. Thank you.
All right. So now moving on to the even more exciting stuff, which is public comments on items not listed on the agenda. So the first speaker I'd like to call up is Mr. Michael, is it Miller? Nope. Please come up to the podium, sir.
What's the name? Sorry?
I'm sorry if I
Miller.
mispronounced your last name.
Miller,
Miller,
M-I-L-L-E-R.
okay, good.
I don't know how this works. It's the first time I've ever been here. So let me just say,
You're doing good. You're doing well so far.
You're
Just
doing
keep
well.
what you're doing.
I'm here about an ordinance you have about complaints about dogs barking at night. I've read your ordinance, and I did get help from Councilman, I think it's Cook, and was a
It's our
police
city
Our
manager.
city manager,
Right.
Mr. Brian
I'm
Cook.
sorry. And I'm from the police officer, and from the LA Sheriff's Department, and from Animal Control. But I have found that you all three do not coordinate with each other. In other words, you have an ordinance, but no way to back it up. The AP is using something from Los Angeles and not from this city. And the police, half the police tell me they can't do anything, and the other half say, well, after the fourth time, they can give them a fine and a citation. And it seems like there is a disconnect on how to get things done when there's a complaint. And that is my complaint was, we were not getting any sleep. The woman I live with was a nurse, worked in an ICU, and these animals were just barking from like 2 o'clock in the morning till 5:30, 6 o'clock. And anytime I called the police department, they would go out, but they could not do nothing about it. So to me, there needs to be a little bit more coordination between animal control, your city, and the sheriff's department. And what is the rules? What is the regulations? And you need to put those in writing so we know. So when we call, we can say, under ordinance such and such, you're supposed to do such and such. I worked in the government for 30 years, so I kind of understand a little bit about this. And my second part is, I'm noticing coyotes walking around Temple City.
Yeah.
And I mean broad daylight. I haven't come through my backyard last night. I really could not believe it. I looked out the back window and there was a coyote. So what is the city and animal control doing about the coyotes, which is up to 5 now? We've got them on video showing 5 coyotes walking around during the daytime through Temple City, less than a mile, half a
Where
mile.
do you live?
6138 Camellia Avenue.
Camellia Avenue?
Camellia Avenue, right across the street from our city councilwoman. 6138.
Everything happens on your street, it seems like, doesn't it?
It was at 3 o'clock in the morning when the animal walked through. It woke me up. I'm a very light sleeper. A little bit of a war did that to me. So I looked out my window and there was a coyote. And he just kind of looked at me and I looked at him and he just traveled out onto the street. But I noticed that it's more and more are coming and we have more and more of a problem with barking animals and now coyotes in the district. So that's all I wanted to say. And I want to thank the councilman who I called my house the other day and did some very professional police officer out, or I should say sheriff's department, who talked to the family. Maybe I'm getting more sleep now. We're hoping it'll continue, but still there seems to be no coordination. And that's my statement.
Okay.
And I want to thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
All right, at this point, is there anyone else from the public who would like to address the city council at this moment? All right, seeing none, I will close public comment. Moving on to the consent calendar, I actually would like to pull consent calendar item 7H for a brief discussion.
Motion to approve items on the consent calendar other than item H.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Sternquist?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fish?
Yes.
Mayor Mann?
Yes. So those items have been approved. And one of the main reasons I wanted to pull this consent calendar item is just to highlight a little bit of what we as a city are doing in terms of public safety. You know, public safety has always been a big concern that's frequently talked about at our area watch meetings. It's brought up at our monthly sheriff's meetings. We get a lot of comments and emails directly to the city council as well as our city manager and city staff regarding public safety. This is a program that we had done before a year ago, and essentially the subsidy for these Ring doorbells and cameras was a very popular program. So in our previous public discussion, we as a council decided to bring back this subsidy program. And actually the other reason I wanted to pull this is because I do have a speaker request form for this item. And I'd like to call up Mr. Jerry Jambazian.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Jerry Jambazian, 9136 Las Tunas, Temple City. I frankly think it's one of the best things since sliced bread. I got my ring probably 3 months ago. I bought my second ring from Costco about 3 weeks ago. Haven't installed it yet. In fact, I brought it tonight. That's what it looks like. The box, the Ring 2 doorbell. If you're anything like me and your transformer is broken in your house and your doorbell does not work, this is the thing to have because it has a battery built into it and it's rechargeable. Mine lasts probably anywhere from 3 to 4 months before it has to be recharged again. And you can see who's at your door. I know what time my mail is delivered each afternoon, which is kind of neat. But then I realize that there's other hazards and things like that that the Ring doorbell picks up. The only other thing that you need is a internet wireless connection for it to work. And I just want to thank you as a city because when this program is completed after this round, 800 families will be safer because of what the city has done. So it's a great partnership with Ring that you can do this. So I appreciate everything you can do. Pick up one of these rascals because it's worth it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I meant to ask if we could pull item E also on the consent calendar.
Pull item E. Can we retroactively pull an item that was passed for discussion? We could discuss it? Okay. All right, so, sure, so
Okay.
okay, so Councilmember Sternquist, maybe if there's no other
No.
comments
I'll
on
make-
item H, we should maybe make a motion.
Motion to approve item H.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, so may we have a roll call for that motion?
Yes. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Sternquist?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fish?
Yes.
Mayor Mann?
Yes. So 7H has been approved, and Councilmember Sternquist, the
Yes.
floor is yours.
Well, I think it's important just to have the audience and those that are watching at home understand a little bit about the Southern California Association of Governments, the Community Grant Program, because we're going to be talking about safety around the schools this evening. And this is definitely a grant that will help in public safety in another way. Not policing, but in pedestrian safety and in safe routes to school. So I was going to ask Brian if he could just give a couple of minutes on that topic and just go over that for us.
Thank you, Councilmember Sternquist. Members of the council, yes, we're going to the council. Usually we don't come to the council for authorization for grants, but because of the size of these grants and the scope of the projects that we're talking about with these two grants, SCAG is looking towards assisting agencies with implementing components of pedestrian safety, traffic safety, and other things, and sustainable communities in the sense of greenway space and green cities. But in this case, the two grants we're going to go after related to the Compass Blueprint program, which is a broad program that talks about many different aspects of the livability of communities, including active transportation and other elements. We've identified a couple grants in that program that we think we're going to be very competitive on, one of which is to create a pedestrian master plan, which assists with some of the elements, as Councilmember Sternquist pointed out tonight, that you're seeing in the traffic study that we did related to in and around Temple City High School. So it will assist us, and we'll have some outside funding to assist us with some of those pedestrian enhancements and improvements that we can do to make the city of Temple City a more walkable city, but also a safer city for pedestrians. Second is something we've already done in the past, many years ago. Another cycle of safe routes to school grants is available that SCAG is actually administering themselves this time. Many years ago, some of the pedestrian improvements that you saw in and around all of our schools was funded by that program, and we're going to be going after that. So these are kind of complementary to one another. So,
Thank you.
Do these grants, I know there are always rules that come with the use of the money, but in talking about pedestrian master plans, I know in the report we received, it talked about just making the sidewalks safer, different amenities for pedestrians. Does that include lighting as well on the streets?
It can, but it primarily talks about more of what like you're going to see in the traffic study that was done related to Temple City High School. Lighting can be a component of the pedestrian safety, but more along the lines of it has a stronger nexus to kind of what you're seeing in your item later this evening.
Because it talks about installation of new sidewalks on streets that maybe don't have a sidewalk on one side.
And you adopted a policy that kind of dictated where we as a city will be going with installing new sidewalks and the manner and the kind of process and policy preferences that you have going forward with on that front.
So we're not sure whether some of this money that we get, if we do get it, can be used in conjunction with putting in sidewalks, also putting in lighting so that people can see where they're walking at the same time?
We'll look at the grant application as well. Usually with these types of grants, lighting is usually not generally a component, but I'll take a look.
No, okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, so moving on from the consent calendar, public hearing, we have none. Unfinished business, we have none. Moving on to 10A, new business, we have the Temple City High School focused traffic engineering analysis at the intersections of Temple City Boulevard and Lemon Avenue, and Trelawney Avenue and Lemon Avenue. Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor Mann and members of the council. Mr. Arzumi, our public safety supervisor, will give you the presentation, but this stemmed from some activity and some concerns expressed and circulated through our youth committee, many members of who are here tonight in the audience. So they're actually seeing something that they thought about actually become something that potentially will be real. It is real in terms of the analysis that we've done, and we've gone through all of the proper warrants and studies in order to get to the recommendations that you have before you today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Arazumi.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Mayor, council members, as City Manager Cook stated, this project was spearheaded by our youth committee because they had some concerns regarding traffic and pedestrian safety around Temple City High School. This was a joint project by the city public safety staff as well as the youth committee, and our youth committee worked closely with our TransTech, our traffic engineers, on conducting the studies and providing recommendations and requested improvements that were vetted through the process. And so Temple City Boulevard and Lemon Avenue is one of the intersections that was focused on. The other one is Lemon Avenue and Treilani. And so here we have some existing street conditions. Talking about Lemon Avenue is 38 feet wide. It is a local roadway with a posted speed limit of 30 miles per hour. Temple City Boulevard is 64 feet wide with the designation of a primary roadway and has a posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour. And Treilani is a 38-foot wide local residential roadway with a prima facie speed limit of 25 miles per hour. The intersection of Temple City Boulevard and Lemon is signalized with yellow ladder crosswalks in all legs. This was done when we did the Temple City Boulevard Highway Safety Improvement Grant improvements. And so there's a lot of improvements that were done prior to the study being completed. The intersection of Treilani and Lemon Avenue is a stop-controlled intersection in the south leg with ladder crosswalks in the south and east legs. And so what that means is northbound traffic on Treilani has a stop sign, and there's a crosswalk going across Treilani and a crosswalk going across Lemon on the east side of the intersection. Some additional information that was completed during the study, we received complaints about speeding vehicles on Lemon Avenue, so TransTech did complete a radar speed survey, and that survey showed that posted speed limit is 30 miles per hour, and 85% of the vehicles were traveling at 32 miles per hour or lower. So they're driving well within the posted speed limit of what's posted on Lemon Avenue.
Hey, what time of the day was this?
There were various times that it was conducted. It wasn't during rush hour, during school times.
And
It
I'm
has to
assuming
be,
that during school hours, the speed limit goes down, correct?
correct, it'll be 25 miles per hour.
And were they within those limits as well?
Well, they weren't doing the survey because they can't do it during high traffic times. They have to do it during non-peak traffic periods. And with the traffic on Lemon Avenue during school times, there is too much traffic to gain that full speed. And so therefore, it's a posted 25, or it's a 25 mile per hour because it's school zone.
So just because there's a lot of cars, they can't go 25 miles an hour, I'm assuming, or it's difficult for them to do so.
Yeah, it's difficult to
Yeah.
do so, but
All
for
right.
a speed survey, it can't be done during peak traffic periods.
Okay.
There was accident data collected. Lemon Avenue and Treilani had one accident reported between the period of 2012 and 2018. Lemon Avenue and Temple City Boulevard had 18 traffic collisions reported during that same period. And mid-block between, on Lemon Avenue between Temple City Boulevard and Oak, reported 3 traffic collisions. The Youth Committee, as I stated, did have some requests from TransTech on proposed improvements, one of which was a protected left turn phasing in all directions at Temple City Boulevard and Lemon. What that means is a left turn signal for all directions. However, as TransTech completed the study, that request and that traffic control engineering did not meet warrants for installation. Another request that was requested by the Youth Committee was an always stop controlled intersection at Lemon and Treilani. And again, through the study, it was determined that the intersection did not meet warrants for an always stop controlled intersection. So TransTech, based on the study and their field visits, have provided recommended improvements at the 2 intersections. At the intersection of Lemon Avenue and Temple City Boulevard, TransTech recommends to install stayback or yield lines approaching all crosswalks. Install pedestrian push buttons for the north and south pedestrian crossings, matching the existing east and west push buttons. And then install updated push button signage at all push button locations. And then another way to increase safety for the pedestrians is to increase times for pedestrians to cross Temple City Boulevard, with pedestrians crossing a few seconds before vehicles are given a green. So they may get 3 seconds of a walk sign before the traffic signal turns green for traffic on Temple City Boulevard.
And those will be countdown,
They will be all countdown pedestrian heads.
okay.
I think we already have those
Do we
there.
have the countdowns there already?
Yeah, I think that was part of the Temple City HSIP improvements.
Brian, I have a question.
Yes.
Are we going to be able to ask the committee questions, or do we ask you questions?
If
on
it's
what they
pertaining
think?
to the study itself and any recommendations, that would either be myself or Jana from TransTech, but the youth committee will be speaking later on tonight.
Okay,
And so you have an opportunity to ask them questions as far as their involvement in the
Okay.
project.
thank you.
And so at Temple City, or at Lemon and Trelawney, TransTech has provided two options for improvements. Option one is leave the existing crosswalk in the east leg, leave the existing crosswalk in the east leg of Lemon and Trelawney and install improvements for increased line of sight and visibility. Option two is to remove the existing east leg crosswalk and install a new crosswalk in the west leg to better accommodate the large number of students using the crosswalk coming from the west side of Trelawney Avenue. There is a larger landing pad area and sidewalks leading up to the existing ramp. This option will also reduce the number of vehicle movements crossing over the crosswalk, thereby reducing conflict with pedestrians in the crosswalk. And so here's a picture showing the improvements of option one. You can see the crosswalk will remain in the east leg and the south leg. The shark teeth are the stayback lines, and there'll be a pedestrian yield sign. The crosswalk will be outlined with the raised pavement markers, which is the reflectors that you see all along Temple City Boulevard. The signage will be upgraded with a flashing beacon that is pedestrian activated. So when a pedestrian comes up to the crosswalk, they would push the button to activate the flashing lights. And also installing a stay-back yield line to have traffic stop before entering the crosswalk. And so this is what is shown for option one.
So the flashing lights is only on the sign. It's not lights along the actual crossing area.
No, it's not in pavement flashing lights. It's mounted, it's a pole top mounted flashing beacon. They have shown that the in pavement flashing lights is a lot more expensive with maintenance costs, because when the lights go out, you have to tear up the street to maintain those.
Oh, I see.
And with the flashing beacons, they can be solar powered, and if they do have malfunction or maintenance issues, they're easier to replace.
Didn't, I think, City of Arcadia had problems with those, they had put those flashing ones on Duarte, I believe, and
Well, they have some in
there
the
were
in
some
pavement,
issues-
and they have
there were
some overhead
issues
ones.
with those, if I remember.
Yeah, some of them go out, and then when they go out, they don't replace them right away because of the amount of work it takes to replace it. So, and then if you have half of them functioning, it kind of defeats the purpose of having the safety lighting. And so option two has similar items as far as the raised pavement marker, the stayback line, stayback yield lines, the pedestrian activated flashing beacons, the pedestrian signage. The difference between the two, I forgot to mention, with the option one, there may be a possibility of extending the southern section of the landing area because the amount of pedestrians that are queuing there, that landing pad is not large enough. And so with option two, we would remove the crosswalk from the east leg and relocate it to the west leg. Part of that improvement would be removing the pedestrian ramp on the north side of Lemon on the east leg and returning it to full curb height, and constructing a new ADA compliant with truncated domes access ramp on the north side in the west leg. As stated, this will remove some conflicts. Northbound Trelawney at Lemon during school hours has posted signs restricting or prohibiting left turn movements during school hours. And so traffic northbound are forced to make a right turn. With the crosswalk on the left side or on the east leg or the west leg, it eliminates them having to turn into that crosswalk. When staff discussed this traffic study with our commission, our Transportation and Public Safety Commission, and that's part of the recommendation tonight, is to select option one. However, in discussing the plan with the Temple City Unified School District, They were very open to both options. However, if given a preference, they would prefer option 2.
Let me ask you, Brian, because we didn't get the, any of the discussion from the Traffic and Safety Commission in our report. What was the rationale between selecting option 1 and option 2? Because it seems to me that the option 2 makes more sense from a vehicle standpoint, because when they do make that right turn, as you said, there's no crosswalk there, so less of a chance of people crossing in front of those cars making the right turn. So why option 1 over option 2? Was there any?
I believe some of it was
consensus?
cost. Option 2 is 44th, or estimated to be
So
approximately.
they were concerned about the cost?
I think they took cost into consideration. If I recall.
They know that they don't pay for it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
If I recall, one of the comments that one of the commissioners made was, regardless of where the crosswalk is, there's still the same number of vehicles crossing over it.
Do you know what the cost is from each one? For each
The
one?
cost for option 1 is approximately $36,000, I think, and option 2 is approximately $44,000. So a
About
difference of
$8,000
$8,000.
difference. Okay, thank you.
And the youth committee, I believe, and again, they'll speak tonight, is in favor of option 2 as well.
Option 2. Okay.
A question about option 2.
Yes.
There's a power pole on the southwest corner of that side. Would that have to be relocated if we had to modify that curb to accommodate the ramps?
The southeast corner of the intersection already has an existing ramp,
No, I'm talking about southwest. So
or the southwest, correct, southwest already has an existing ramp.
okay, so all right. So you can use the existing ramp to
We would use the
cross
existing
across
ramp.
Lemon Avenue.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
already a landing pad and existing ramp. We would have to add a new ramp on the north side of the street because there's one non-existent there, which there's no power pole there.
Brian, I have another question. On option 2, you said that still where the existing crosswalk is, you'd have to put a larger pad?
No, if we went with option 1, one of the recommendations
You'd have to
would
put
possibly to build a bulb out or widen that
Okay.
pavement area,
But not with option 2?
not with option 2.
Okay.
Option 2, that would not affect it because the landing pad on the southeast or southwest corner is large enough to accommodate, and there's sidewalks leading directly up to that intersection. And then also, most of the students, when they're approaching this intersection, are coming from the west side. They're coming from the Oak Avenue side. Anybody coming from the east side on Temple City Boulevard are generally crossing at Temple City Boulevard and going.
Can you tell me, during school hours in that particular area on Lemon, is it no parking?
Yes, there are posted signs the entire block of Lemon Avenue between Temple City
That's what I
Boulevard to
thought.
Oak.
Is it the whole time during school hours or just drop off and pick up?
No, it's residential parking only between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., I believe, on school days.
7 p.m. Okay, okay.
So there is parking if you have a residential permit or a disabled placard,
But not in the red zone.
but not in the red zone.
Yes.
Okay, and not where it says no parking against the school, right? That's no parking at all?
Yeah, anywhere that there is parking prohibited, no one can park there.
Nobody, okay.
Brian, I always ask this question, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we've discussed this before when we make changes to other streets or when we change stop signs or put in stop signs. We always heard that if we meet the warrants and we meet the regulations, that it prohibits liability issue from raising liability issues. So if somebody is injured as a result of our change, as long as we've met those warrants and those rules, we're safe from that. Is that correct? But saying that, do we still run this by JPIA or do we not?
No, this is all done in accordance with state law, and so there's two doctrines that would regulate how and where and why things are posted. One is the California Vehicle Code. The other one is the California Manual of Uniform and Traffic Control Devices, often referred to as the MUTCD. Those are state documents that regulate how, when, and where size, color, how traffic
So as long as
restrictions.
we all meet all those, because I know in reviewing
I have
claims
another
that we
question.
have, other cities, when they make these changes and they don't follow those things, that's where, of course, we have to pay out. But
Correct.
as long as and I'm assuming that all of this has already been
Yes.
vetted out and,
As part of the traffic study, all the proposed recommendations are MUTCD compliant.
great.
And in addition to, design immunity applies when it's essentially you got this, eventually we'll have the stamp of the city engineer on top of that too. So design immunity applies
Right.
in this case. So there's several layers of
Good.
risk management protection all the way through, and that's all that JPA really
Yeah,
cares about.
exactly.
They don't really care about what you do as long as you've
As
met
long as
all
you
those
comply
things.
with it, yeah, of course, thank you.
I have a question. I can look at this and I can decide which one I like, but I don't go to school there. And I was wondering if we could hear from the students, since they're the ones that cross there and see the traffic in the morning. I mean, I used to see traffic when I drop off my children there, but I never got out of the car and crossed there because I didn't go to school there. So I was wondering if we could maybe hear from them and get, some feedback, because
Mayor
they're-
Pro Tem, if we can have them just as part of the normal
Okay.
public comment period
Okay.
as well. Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no further questions,
Does
so
this whole thing address, it sounds like it's geared more towards the pedestrian issue
So what are we?
around that, but does it also address at the same time the vehicle issues? Because I know in the past, we've had issues with the vehicles and where they go and how they do it, and I'm assuming it's all packaged in there together.
correct. So the improvements also increase visibility for the motoring vehicles for
And
line
that's
of
because
sight.
of the red curbing?
The red curbs, so that they have a clearer line of sight of pedestrians in the roadway. And so they can observe from a further distance that there's someone there and can slow or stop in time before entering that crosswalk.
Okay, good.
And so tonight, if the city council chooses to accept the recommendation of the Transportation and Public Safety Commission and proceeding with option one at the intersection of Trelawney and Lemon Avenue, you'd be requested to adopt resolution number 185361, approving the traffic and pedestrian safety measures recommended by TransTech and the Public Safety Commission, and approve a budget amendment in the amount of $36,000 to implement the approved traffic and pedestrian safety measures. However, if the city council chooses to proceed with option two of the traffic study, a public hearing would need to be held for the removal of the crosswalk. We are legally required to notice the removal of the crosswalk for a 30-day period prior to that hearing. And so if there is direction from council tonight to proceed with option two, staff will begin preparations for posting the required notices at the crosswalk and scheduling it for a council meeting subsequent to the hearing date.
Okay, so if maybe a question about the second option, where would that land us roughly if that was the direction we went in terms of officially?
Officially in time, we have a 30-day posting
30
period
days.
in which we need to notify it. We can post it tomorrow, which would put us out 30 days, and that would land on whatever next scheduled city council
So
meeting.
essentially, if that happens, we're looking at sometime in December before
Yes,
we can take any official action.
yes.
Okay, got it. Are there any further council questions at this time? Good. Okay, so I'd like to open up the public comment, and first I'd like to call up Justin Chai, who's part of our youth committee.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. On behalf of the Youth Committee and the students of Temple City High School, we are incredibly grateful that Council is considering item 10A today. Like I said, I'm Justin Chai, and as a member of the Youth Committee, I can attest to the effort and dedication into getting this item to this point. From collecting input at community events like Lights on Temple City, hosting a pop discussion at the library, working with TransTech on a traffic study, and presenting this to the Transportation and Public Safety Committee. This item is a culmination of multiple years of effort, and I know that our current members, Brandy, Brianna, Chase, Chloe, Christy, Heidi, Kelly, Phoebe, and Zoe, and past members, Anusha, Christy, Joey, Charlie, and Daniel, are incredibly proud that we're at this point. And I know that we have put a lot of effort and are grateful for all the help that we've received into getting this to where we are now. From the library, from Sharmitria, from TransTech, Jane and Melissa, from the city council itself, from Mr. Catalan, who works at the school safety department, from Ms. Wen Lee, from Mr. Arizumi, Ms. Kuo, and Ms. Nunez. We wouldn't be at this point without the support of these individuals and organizations. This experience has taught us a lot about not only the power we as youth and as citizens have in bringing about change in our community, but also the follow-through and dedication needed to getting what you want done and seeing the change in the world. So once again, I'd like to thank you for your consideration of item 10A.
Thank you, Justin. I believe you may have some questions from council. I know Mayor Pro Tem does. If you could stay.
Yes, that's
there.
fine.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I was just wondering, like I said before, on option 2, where the crosswalk is being moved, why do you feel that that's a better option?
Well, I've attended Temple City High School for 4 years, and I've used that intersection, getting dropped off, getting picked up, walking to the bus, walking to Traiani or to other things. And I know, especially in the mornings, it's really hectic because students want to get to class, parents want to get to work. And there's a lot of rushing between parents, especially at the intersection of Treilani and Lemon. A lot of parents trying to turn. And I believe that by moving the intersection to the west side, there'll be less conflict as parents are turning and moving around. And it also gives more space for students to cross.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to ask questions?
I'd just like to thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
And thank you, Youth Committee, for the wonderful job you've all done. All right, next up, I'd like to call Mr. Jerry Jambazian.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Jerry Jambazian again. I agree 100% with what's being proposed tonight, but there's one minor change that I'd like to see maybe implemented, and that's, and I made that conclusion after watching traffic this morning as I was going to work, just watching the traffic on Lemon, and that's by making that center line all the way from Temple City Boulevard to Oak a double solid line so people can't cross over it. There are cones, yellow cones that are put up there.
Right.
Probably starts, if you looked right about at the start of the red line there on Lemon, the yellow cones go all the way over to the crosswalk and past. But I actually saw this morning with my own eyes 2 people making a Y-turn before the yellow cones. So
During school hours?
during school hours, at 7:35 this morning.
I live by school.
So
Do you really think they're not going to do that if there's 2 lines there?
but at least they could get a ticket. I don't know. Maybe they can get a ticket with a dashed line, just one single line, but at least it might discourage them, or put the cones out farther, so, start them sooner. At least allow the traffic to get in there, but that would be my only suggestion. I think it would be, causing people not to make a Y turn there, because they feel that they can do it before the cones start. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Brian, is that a big deal?
California
What's the
Vehicle Code already prohibits making U-turns in a residential commercial district with traffic within 200 feet. So painting lines on the street would not change any of the enforcement efforts already. There's already laws that prohibit those actions.
So what Jerry just described, that person today, as the lines are now, would still be subject to be cited?
Correct. If they're making a U-turn with traffic approaching from either direction within 200 feet.
I think it was a Y turn you were talking about.
Exactly. That's why I was going to ask you, Brian.
Is there a
if-
difference between
If
Y-turns
it carries
and
the same weight between a U-turn and you can't make a U-turn there anyway because it's too narrow.
If it's a wide turn, meaning they're from curb to curb, or
I think
how?
what it is let's say you're going down the street and you turn left and go into the other side of the curb and then back up and then go back the other way. That's what we kind of.
It's a 3-point turnabout, which is
Yeah.
still considered a U-turn.
It
That's
is?
still your turn.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call up
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Franklin Rudell.
Yes. Mayor, did you get you said about a post being in the way, and then you switched to something else. Did you get your question answered?
Well, I was going to follow up after the public comment on that.
Oh,
but
okay, all
thank
right.
you.
Anyway, I was thinking that on white turns and on U-turns anyway, you can't make in the middle of the street regardless. We see this all the time where people will turn in between two streets.
Right.
Just because there's room and they're not at the corners either, but more to my point, I'd like to see you take into consideration, maybe not for this one, but at a future time with it, at Oak and that intersection there between that area in there and looking at that whole thing, because there's plenty of traffic there, and you have, I know I was one of the ones that actually got a stop sign there. They always thought there was one there, but there wasn't one there. So I would like to have you consider somewhere along the way that safety also, because if just one committee is doing this out of the high school, we're not considering what is happening at the junior high school from a committee. We don't have a committee there. So maybe we need to look at this whole picture.
The youth committee looks at issues involving not only just the high
Oh,
school.
okay, then I stand corrected
Yeah.
then. Thank you. But that was the comments that I had.
Thank you, Franklin.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call Mr. Steve Stafford.
Mayor Mann, Vice Mayor Fish, council members, and city staff. I've analyzed this, and I really think a stop east and west before that crosswalk is needed. That's going to slow traffic down there. They're going to have to stop before they cross that crosswalk. And if there's people there, then they got to wait to get the people across that crosswalk. By leaving no east-west stop, the kids, and even some of the parents, I've seen how they drive. They just fly through there. The biggest thing is, if you're going to do option 2 or option 1, stop signs east and west on Lemon. You know, I don't think it really matters what the people did that did this survey. That's one place where you've got to have an east and west stop sign. It'll stop traffic. It'll slow it down. You already got to stop on Trelawney. Those people have a stop east and west. You're going to avoid a lot of things there, like accidents and pedestrians getting hit. Best thing to do, whatever option you go with, stop signs east and west. Doesn't matter what the cost is. The other thing is, I've seen this in El Monte, and I've seen it in Arcadia, and I've seen it in Azusa where they have the stop signs, and they're doing it at Rosemead where they have the flashing little red lights around the stop sign that flash before you get there. That may be something you may want to consider if you end up going with stop signs east and west. I've seen it at a lot of schools there in El Monte, especially down where Nativity Church is on Tyler. They have them up and down that street. That's a great idea for there, and I think it should be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. At this point, is there anyone else who'd like to address the council on this item at this time? All right, seeing none, I will close the public comment and moving on to council discussion. Maybe Councilmember Chavez, could you maybe start us off with your
Thank you,
take
Mayor
on this?
Mann. So in looking at the two options, I think I was more convinced, especially if the goal is the safety of the pedestrians and the students who are using that crosswalk. The second option makes more sense to me only because it eliminates the interaction between vehicles that are making that right-hand turn on Trelawney onto Lemon. And there would, of course, unless someone is crossing illegally, that would certainly lower the amount of potential interaction. I think, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but also one of the, I think it's for both option 1 and both option 1 and 2, that the crosswalk is going to be larger than the normal crosswalk. Is that correct, or is it the same width?
They'll be the same width.
Okay.
At the school zones, they can do yellow ladder striping, which makes it more visible.
Okay.
And so it's what's as depicted in the picture.
Yeah. I believe, it's my understanding that that more of the kids cross, or at least come from that west direction to cross there. They don't come, in other words, they're not coming from Temple City Boulevard to cross, but rather coming from the parking lot area to cross at that thing. And that would mean, to me, that would make more sense to put the crosswalk then on the left side of that intersection, or the west side of that intersection. Is that
Correct. So a lot of the students that are coming from the west side use that crosswalk. A majority of the students coming from the east side already cross Lemon Avenue at Temple City Boulevard and then walk on the north side.
Yeah, so you know, given those things, I think that certainly justifies. I know that 1 is a little bit more expensive, but relatively speaking, it's not really that much. And if we're going to do it, I think we should do it right. And you know, it's for the difference in expense. And I appreciate the Public Transportation and Public Safety Commission in looking at those issues, because obviously, you know, we're always thinking of how we're going to save money and the best bang for our buck. But for me, the best bang for our buck in this situation would be to take option 2. Now, if you don't mind, before I leave and before we go on, I just want to...
Where are you going?
No, I'm not going anywhere. I want to thank TransTech, and I know representatives are here today, for closely working with the Youth Committee. I mean, they did a fantastic job, and I want to thank them for doing that. They went above and beyond the call, and I know that our Youth Committee was very appreciative of the work that they did. Certainly our Transportation and Public Safety Commission, I know Jim's here today, and thank you for doing that. But you know how appropriate I think it is on today, Election Day, to and all the things that are going on in our community. You know, we've this almost to me kind of feels like kind of an historic day for us, and from the standpoint of what we do as a city and the things that we look for. And what I mean by that is, with the Youth Committee, we started this Youth Committee and we had discussions about hosting dances and what we were going to do, and it's like, no, we don't want to do that. We have to look at the bigger picture, and it's taken a few years, but our Youth Committee has really taken that to heart, and you know, over the past 12 months, you know, we have seen the youth of our nation rise up and try to become a voice in what we do and the politics, and unfortunately most of that is in response to a tragedy, but here we have members of our youth who have taken a proactive approach and witnessed firsthand what they can do and the difference that they can make in discussing policy and working with the city, and I think that is just a great thing. And I don't know why, but every time I look at these kind of things, you guys, many of you, I'm sure, have seen the musical Hamilton, okay? And I don't know why this came. Oh, you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see it, right? Okay, I won't tell you.
Roosevelt High School. That was my introduction. Did
To Hamilton?
Hamilton
Oh, there you
in
go.
East Los Angeles, and I got an invitation and I went to see it. I have not seen the professional
Oh, well, you're going to like it.
stage, but I will.
But those of you who know Hamilton, there's a song in Hamilton. Some of the kids may know. It's I'm not sure the exact title, but it's you want to be in the room where it happens, okay? And this is an example of the youth being in the room where it happens. And I want to thank you guys for really going outside your comfort zone. And you know, what they didn't tell you is they actually stood out there in the curbs and were counting cars as they were going by. And I want to thank Justin, of course, for bringing up. Of course, hopefully if Joey and Charlie and Christy are watching this, and maybe they will, that, you know, they were our senior graduates. They put a lot of work into this. So thank you again for all that you guys have done. And speaking for myself, and I know for Peggy and Jillian, we're all very proud of you, and keep up the good work. So, and with that, I will end. Sorry it took so long.
Thank you. Councilmember Sternquist, what's your pleasure?
I forgot, are we talking about the Youth Commission or?
Both.
Okay. I agree that option 2, I think, is the best option. And, you know, I'm not a traffic engineer and can only, you know, observe and see, and something like this can only benefit everybody that's involved. The fact that the school district chose option 2, I think is enough for me to go with that option. You know, being in education and having worked at numerous schools and around schools, there's just never the perfect scenario for keeping kids safe. I mean, you can only do the best of your ability, but you're putting a lot of faith in the parents of these children and, you know, people who are driving fast to work and are distracted on a cell phone or, you know, I mean, I've been guilty of that, putting on lipstick in the car or, you know, whatever. And I try and be very cognizant when I'm around schools, especially to, you know, be mindful that those things obviously shouldn't take place. But the teachers who are living this day in and day out and seeing what's going around the schools, you know, they have a very good sense of hopefully what they will see, and the principal around the high school, what is really the best option for them. Of course, there's always going to be guidelines that we have to follow, and we work within those parameters. But, you know, just knowing that the school district was on board with something that I had a gut feeling was probably the best really makes me feel that that's the best option. And like you, I agree wholeheartedly. You know, I'm hoping from this group of youth commissioners, we actually get some of you interested in transportation. And transportation in the next 10 years is going to have a huge need for employment. And I have to tell you that women are terribly unrepresented in the transportation industry as CEOs and that in Metro, and that's beginning to change a little bit, but there's huge opportunities there. And I just told Mr. Chavez that I'd love for you to come to a SCAG, which is the 88 cities transportation meeting. It is at 10 o'clock in the morning on, it's either the second or third Thursday of the month. But if you can get off of school, we would actually take the Silver Line from El Monte Station and go on the bus and then walk like half a block up and go to the transportation meeting there. You'd have lunch, but you'd really get a feel. And they talk about all these things. They have USC professors, UCLA professors talk about safety, safe routes to school. So keep that in the back pocket and see if we can maybe schedule a date sometime if the holidays are busy in next year for sure.
Will they meet maybe during the time that they would be off on their winter break maybe?
I can actually,
Maybe check some of the dates and we'll give them to Peggy.
I will look and
I'm
see
sure they
what
would love it.
the
Thank you for that
December
offer.
date is
Great.
for that.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fish.
Well, for two reasons. First, they've said everything. Second, I have no voice. You know, when I first look at this, I kind of wondered why it was done originally the other way. I mean, option 2 just makes more sense. I agree with Councilmember Sternquist in the fact that because the school district supports it and it seems the students support it, and you're the ones that use it, you're the ones that are there every day and see the traffic, and it would make more sense that the children come from that direction, that option 2 would be the clear correct choice. I don't think when it comes to the safety of children or pedestrians that we need to worry about, I believe it was a mere 7,000 or something.
8,000.
8,000. I mean, that really is not crucial. You know, in the past few weeks, there has been so many, I can't even believe it, so many reports of hit and runs. And you cannot be in any defense when you're hit by a car. I mean, that's it. I mean, the car's going to win. And in the morning, I live by La Rosa School, and I actually live between La Rosa and Cloverly. And in the morning, at 8:15, it is a war zone. Nobody stops at any stop signs. Everybody's making U-turns. They're double parking. They're parking in front of driveways. So I live it every day, and I try to stay off the street at 8:15 and 2:30 because I know that it's going to be a disaster. And I have dropped my kids off. I went 8 years in a row dropping my kids off at Temple City High School. So first of all, I'd like to thank TransTech, of course, for their guidance. But I really like to especially thank our youth commission because you are getting involved and you're seeing what it takes to improve your community. You're speaking up, you're taking notes. I appreciate the fact that you went out there and actually looked at it and wrote, saw how many cars went by. I mean, that's what it takes to get things changed. It's not always easy. Sometimes we get frustrated because we want things changed and we can't change it. But you know what? All in all, the best thing you can do is just keep trying and to pay attention and to bring these things to our attention. One of the things I tell residents all the time is, we're only 5 people. We're only 5 residents. We can't see everything that goes on in Temple City, every street corner, every business, every street. So I appreciate it when someone comes and talks to us and says, hey, have you guys ever thought about putting a stop sign over there? Because it's terrible. Because I live in my little bubble over up by La Rosa, and I'm not always by Emperor, or I'm not always by the high school. So I want to appreciate that. I want to tell you how much I appreciate all your hard work. And I'm going to go with option 2. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess I just have one last clarifying question. So if we went with option 2, the crosswalk that would essentially allow people to cross Lemon Avenue, that would come off of the existing ramp that's already there, the existing ADA ramp at the curb.
Correct. On the
That wouldn't have to be modified at all.
No, on the southwest corner, there's an existing ramp, and I don't think it had to be modified, right, Dana?
Okay.
No. It doesn't have to be modified. That pole's not in the way of the existing ramp.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. And so I think all of my council member colleagues have stated a lot of great points, and I basically agree with all of them. So I will point out one thing, though. If you look at the data that TransTech and the Youth Committee has put together, maybe my engineering side is coming into this. But they had some diagrams in here that show traffic volumes at the intersection, like how many cars turn left, how many cars turn right. And if you look at it, you'll see that an overwhelming number of cars make a right turn if they're coming off of Trelawney Avenue. And so if we went with option 1, there's a clear conflict with all those cars trying to move in that direction, and then you got
kids trying to
crossing
Right.
at the same time. So it just seems like by moving it to the left side, you inherently are reducing a lot of that potential conflict and sort of the natural flow of traffic and pedestrians as well. So, yeah, and I just want to conclude by saying, one, I truly appreciate TransTech really doing something so unique in terms of collaborating with our youth committee as well as our public safety staff. I hope you enjoyed that experience as much as everyone else here has. And youth committee, you may not know this. Well, maybe Zoe knows this, but anytime I get a chance outside of our normal work here and I'm meeting elected officials from other cities or agencies or at conferences, and if there's an opportunity to bring you guys up, I do, because I realize there's really not many other cities. I can't even think of one city
I can't either.
that has something like what you guys have done. And the fact that you can bring up a specific example of a project, something that even some college level kids don't even get a chance to participate in a traffic engineering study like that. And I'm speaking that with coming from a civil engineering background and having taken, traffic engineering classes, is a lot of times you do textbook exercises, but to be like in the field and doing actual measurements, you get a taste for kind of that's what engineering is about. And to kind of echo Councilmember Sternquist's comment about a lack of female representation in the transportation sector, I think hopefully those of you who are involved are able to kind of take away this experience and realize that this is something you can do as a potential future career, or this opens up doors into engineering, and you might be, obviously I'm an engineer, so I'm kind of pushing you guys in that direction, but she's absolutely right that in engineering in general, there is a lack of female representation. So to see that our youth committee is basically Justin plus all girls, I think that's and I like picking on Justin for that too. But I think that's a great thing is we're allowing our youth to come forward and embrace these opportunities, and the fact that you've taken this project to this level where we're on the precipice of essentially making a motion and saying, yeah, let's do this. You should stand proud and tell all your friends and classmates, and when you go off to college, this is an experience you can fall back on that I don't think many kids are going to be able to say that, yeah, I was part of an engineering study and they actually listened to us. Or the decision makers actually considered, deliberated, and then took action on something that we had worked on. So I'm incredibly proud of every single one of you, and for the new youth committee members, you're going to have an opportunity to tackle a lot of different new and diverse issues that we have. And I know Councilmember Chavez his leadership on this matter has played a big role in taking the youth committee this far. So I do want to give a shout out to Councilmember Chavez for all his work. And as well as all of city staff. I know Peggy and Jillian are, every time I'm at City Hall and I get a chance to talk with them,
So excited.
the youth committee always comes up. Like I remember Jillian was telling me about the metro ride that you guys are gonna. Did you guys already go on that one, or? Oh, okay. We'll save that for later. let you guys talk about that.
I'll tell you about it.
You'll tell me? Okay. Yeah. Jillian was telling me about it, and I was like, wow, that sounds like a really exciting trip. So, yeah, all transportation themed. So that's a really great moment. So anyway, I think we've had a lot of discussion and deliberation, and if there's no further comments or questions, I'd like to entertain any motion from council.
Mayor, I would make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for the removal of the east leg crosswalk at Lemon Avenue in Trelawney, and that staff prepare for approval the option 2 for the proposed traffic and pedestrian safety improvements, together with a budget amendment.
I'll second.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. I'm just going to do a quick check with our Mr. City Attorney. We're all good? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Sternquist?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fish?
Yes.
Mayor Mann?
Yes.
So as Mr. Azumi said, that would be a noticed public hearing, so it will take some time to get the notice published, but as soon as we can get that done, we'll come back to you as quickly as we can with that. And that hearing obviously will take comments from the public, but beyond that, given everything you've discussed tonight, it should be a fairly routine matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, and congratulations, Youth Committee. All right, so moving on, we have an update from our city manager.
Mayor Mann, I'm going to defer until council member comments and then come back with a report.
Okay. Next, update from our city attorney.
None tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings. Do we have any? All right, seeing none. Items separate from the agenda. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you. Just a couple of things actually are kind of, we had already talked about this. Councilmember Sternquist mentioned the fact that transportation is something that I think our youth should consider as a career. It just so happened that our youth committee did take a tour of the Metro office and Union Station last week. Last Tuesday, we took did we take the Silver Line? I think we did. We took the Silver Line, got on the bus at El Monte Station and rode it down to Union Station, where we were met by a representative of Metro. As you know, and this started out again through Councilmember Sternquist's help with the youth committee going to the Foothill Transit meeting. COG. Was it the COG?
Not Foothill Transit. That's next.
Okay, so got them interested in this this subject matter, and of course, as you know, Metro is starting with what they're calling their Next Gen program, which is geared to improve our bus system and encourage our youth to use it more often. And so all of the members, all 11 members of the youth committee were treated to a discussion about that and what was happening. And it just so happened that when we got there, I believe, Peggy, correct me, tell me again, she was the head of the
Communications.
the publicity for Next Gen, was a female. And she was very excited to have our youth there and use them as sort of a focus group to talk about different issues. So they got an extra little bonus from actually being there and learning about this. And it was a great meeting, and I even learned a lot. It was fantastic with how the information they passed along. So more to follow on transportation. I think that's one of the issues that the youth committee is going to continue to tackle and are interested in. So I think we'll hear more of that in the future. So, and then afterwards, we walked across the street and went to Elvira Street.
Did you have taquitos?
We did have taquitos, or some of us did, and we were fortunate enough to get in there right before they closed. I forgot how early Elvira Street closes down, but it was a lot of fun. So I want to thank them all for participating. They did a great job. And of course, they continue to do fine work. Along those same lines, I just want to put a shout out, and something maybe we can talk later. We need some books for the little library. So those in the public, those who are listening, if you have any extra books out there that you want to donate to our little libraries, in the city hall, to our clerk's office, and they will collect those. And so any extra books that you want to donate to our little libraries, we have one here, of course, in the park. We can always use those. And last thing, I have some unfortunate news, and I want to ask for Mayor Mann's indulgence to perhaps close our meeting tonight in honor of a young man, Brian Sumakian, who unfortunately passed away last week. Brian was 30 years of age, attended Temple City High School, played football. His father, Gabe Sumakian, was a teacher and football coach at Temple City High School. It was close to me because Brian actually played Little League for me years ago. And in fact, one of the photos they had up at the services was Brian in his Mariners uniform. And we all remember him, and he was a great young man, and unfortunately he passed away at too early of an age. So I would ask if you don't mind closing tonight's meeting in his honor, and I know his family would appreciate that very much.
Certainly.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Sternquist?
A few things. Some I think it's some good news, exciting news. If you remember, probably about, was it a month ago, Brian, when we applied for the?
No, several months ago.
Several months, gosh, how time flies. You heard me discuss that the San Gabriel Valley COG was going to be one of the entities that would implement Measure M funding, the funding grants. And all we basically had to do was come up with an idea, and then staff went ahead and put in an application. And through the process, I found out yesterday that Temple City will be able to receive $2 million for the Eat and Wash program. And it's gone through all the steps where it met with the Public Works TAC, the city manager steering, most recently with the Transportation Committee. So that'll definitely be something. I encourage the Youth Commission, and I can work with Peggy. That will be on the agenda for the upcoming Council of Governments meeting this month. So I believe it is the 21st, if that's a Thursday. But it's that week. And any and all of you who want to come up and entice the governing board to go ahead and vote for the list of projects. And so I brought you the latest COG newsletter, and there's a list of the 16 cities and their projects that will, hopefully, with the governing board's approval, will be granted those monies to be with the first cycle of 5 years. Through the Eat and Wash program, there is a stipulation that from the time you receive the grant money, that you need to implement it within 3 years. So the design needs to be developed. And Brian, maybe you can share a little bit about that project for us.
So very briefly, the county received a Metro grant about 18 months ago, about $3.2 million for Metro for the Eat and Wash and the Bikeway. When we saw that and Metro or the county applied that, that was just for the roadway component. No beautification, no anything else that would be enhance the project. So when they did this informal call for project, we listed many projects across the board, but including this one to provide some level of enhancements if the project's going to go forward. That project still has some planning to go forward, some community outreach components as well, but at least this gives them additional money to, if the project does come to its full fruition, that they'll actually have some enhancements that will, rather than just saying a bike path, there will be some enhancements that the community and the neighbors can see rather than just asphalt. So we'll be working with we'll be talking to the county about how that works, what they can do, and as they roll out to the community over the next about 6 to 8 months or so, how that kind of all can potentially play out.
I just want to point out while we're on that topic that in our recently adopted general plan, one of the elements that was flagged in the general plan was the potential development or greening of the Eat and Wash corridor that runs through our city. And potentially, we always talk about lack of green space, and we're a built-out city, and trying to think creatively of, well, are there other ways we can add elements of green space that may not fall under the traditional umbrella of a large park like Live Oak Park? And so the challenge for us had always been, well, we have Eat and Wash, but it doesn't belong to the city. It's property of LA County. And so what's neat is that we have all these disparate pieces that are kind of moving out there, and one of them is on the county end, there is a bikeway master plan that's county-wide. And so my understanding is this specific project for the Eat and Wash bike path is supported on the county side by a bikeway master plan that the Board of Supervisors has adopted some time ago. And so it's kind of like a good serendipitous timing that a lot of these things are kind of coming together, and you in your position, Councilmember Sternquist in her position on the COG, being aware and knowing these things are coming down the pipeline, also positions us in a great way to be able to sort of take advantage of these opportunities that don't really come along too often. And so I'm thank you for the report and thank you for sharing that news. I think it's great for us to even have the opportunity to entertain that possibility. So.
And with that being said, I love to get free money. And SCAG is offering a Future Communities grant for reducing vehicle miles traveled. And the closing date is November 15th. Unfortunately, I was on vacation the month before, so I didn't bring that information back, but it's still not too late. We have a few days, so I don't know, Brian, if you want to go ahead and take a look at that and see what possibilities are. I mean, maybe be creative with talking about our Lyft program that we're implementing in the city and getting people together to take a ride locally. Definitely would reduce miles traveled with the amount of people. So something creative there if it's not too cumbersome. So if we could take a look at that. Let's see, what else? I was at the third annual Walk to End Domestic Violence last month, and that was hosted by Council Member Victoria Martinez, who took a lead there. It was very well attended, a lot of valuable information, and hoping to gather more support so that that event continues to grow each year. Something to put in your calendar, Council, if you'd like to attend. The San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership, in conjunction with the COG, hosts the Merry Mingle once a year. It would be nice if maybe some of the council members could attend this year. And it's December 13th from 4:30 to 6:30. And it's at is that considered Irwindale or City of Industry? Where ACE Building is now? Irwindale. It's in Irwindale, and I can get you that address, and we just need to RSVP for you. It's not that long, but it's a nice networking event. And let's see, and then April 19th is the San Gabriel Valley COGS General Assembly. It's actually April 10th. So just keep this sheet with you and put them down in your calendar. Councilmember Fish attended last year, and hopefully some of you can attend this year too.
Can they start having them after the workday? For those of us at work?
It's a whole day almost.
It is a
pretty
whole
much
day, I know.
till like 4 o'clock, but we're
Yeah.
going to shorten it and try and get out by 2 this year. So maybe you can put in your calendar and then just don't work that day.
There you go.
Okay, let's see, I think that's it. Okay.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Fish.
Well, let me just, I wish I had my voice back. On Saturday, I attended the ribbon cutting of the new Cathay Bank in the Camellia Square. And I just want to say how exciting it was. I met the CEO of Cathay Bank, and they were established in 1962. They're the oldest Chinese-American bank in Southern California. And when he got up to say his speech, I thought he was one of our council members. He had all of these wonderful things to say about our city, how wonderful our school district was, how safe our city was, one of the safest cities. We had wonderful resale values on our homes. We had a great sheriff's department, and he went on, and I was listening to him, and I thought, he is so excited to have a branch here in Temple City. So it was wonderful. I'm so happy that they're here. If you're looking for a new bank, go to Cathay Bank. It's right there. Wonderful staff.
It's in the Camellia Square.
It's in Camellia Square. It is not a very large branch, but they do everything there. They have very nice staff. Everyone in their staff speaks 4 to 5 languages, which is amazing. So I just wanted to just say how honored I was to be there. And it was so nice to have someone who is now going to have a business in our city just get up and say just how wonderful and how fortunate he was that they were in Temple City and not in any other community. So, yeah, I wanted to say that. That was great. So, thank you.
Thank you. Actually, a lot has happened in between our last council
There
meeting
is a
and
lot.
now. And so I just want to acknowledge a couple of things that have happened. We had a pretty good fall festival, classic car show a couple weeks back. That was pretty exciting. So I'd like to thank our Parks and Rec staff for putting that together. I do want to mention, I thought Relay was a very successful
Thank you.
event, knowing that it was the first time being held at Temple City Park. I thought it was a very nice change.
Yes, it was.
And everyone seemed very happy and excited.
We did
about
really
being-
well. We exceeded our goal by $10,000.
By
So,
10,000. What was the
yes.
final figure?
The goal was 50,000, and we're almost at 60.
Wow.
We're right
That's
below
amazing.
60, so we will get to 60.
That's great.
So,
So
yeah,
great.
it's great.
That's congratulations to the entire
Thank you.
relay committee for breaking that goal. That's incredibly amazing. Well, we had the Halloween Carnival recently at Live Oak Park, and my son Adrian finally got to enjoy some of the rides because he wasn't big enough before. So, but I'm always amazed at how many people we get.
Oh, it's
at that
crazy. It's
event.
crazy.
And you know, we were talking about crazy traffic in front of school. Talk about traffic in front of Live Oak Park
Yeah,
during the
it's
Halloween
insane.
Carnival. Yeah,
It's dangerous.
3,000. That's the estimate. Oh, wow, 3,000 people. Yeah, felt
And
like
I
felt like
think
more.
we need, along those lines, I drove by there. It was probably around 9 o'clock. I think I was on Danes. There didn't seem to be a whole lot of lights.
It was pretty dark. right?
And I'm a little
very
concerned about
dark.
that.
Yeah, it's very dark.
When we have that many children in that area, I think that's something that we really need to look at for next year because there were a lot of people, there were a lot of cars, and it was dark, especially on Danes.
Yeah,
And
we
there were people, of course, talk about crosswalks, there was nobody
No,
using a crosswalk.
nobody was using a crosswalk, no.
At all. So that's just something I think we need to keep in mind.
Yeah, there were. I actually saw one minivan literally just stop in the middle of Danes, and they unloaded on the left side of the car, not the right side. They
Right.
unloaded. Yeah, it was.
I
There
saw
were a
that
lot of
Anyway,
people.
many
It's gotta be
times.
the biggest one, huh, Jared? Biggest one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a testament to our Parks and Rec staff and all the volunteers who come out and help support the Halloween Carnival. So very successful. I do want to mention that this coming Saturday we have a Veterans Day celebration right here in Temple City Park, starting at 9 a.m. So if you're able to make it, it would be wonderful. We've been doing that for several years now. And finally, I do want to do a quick plug for Congresswoman Judy Chu, who's holding an emergency preparedness
Oh, that's right,
workshop
72.
at the community center in Live Oak Park, also this coming Saturday at 2 p.m. And I really appreciate her bringing those resources here. And we always talk about the next big earthquake or the next disaster, and I'll be the first to acknowledge that I'm not fully prepared. So hopefully this Saturday it'll motivate me to prepare for the next big emergency. Okay, so moving on to next item, reimbursements. We have none. We will now have to recess to the successor agency. So may we have the roll call for the successor agency, please?
Yes. Agency Member Chavez?
Here.
Agency Member Sternquist?
Yes, here.
Vice Chair Fish?
Here,
Chairman Mann?
Here. We have a consent calendar item.
Motion to approve?
second.
All right. We have a motion and second. Anyone opposed? No. We'll just have that pass. Unfinished business, none. New business, none. Communications, none. Public comments on the successor agency? Okay. Close public comments. Update from executive director and agency council? Seeing none. Matters from agency members? Seeing none. We adjourn from the successor agency back to our regular meeting. Additional public comments for items not listed on the agenda? Any public comments? All right, seeing none, I would like to adjourn tonight's meeting in the memory of Brian Sumakian. We are adjourned.
Good meeting.
For the okay.
I hope you get your voice back.